it's Councillor Malcolm Maifala here. We've obviously just starting to go live. I'm going to give it a few seconds, or about a minute or so, to give people an opportunity to come live. I hope you guys don't mind. It's been another long day again, but we are here. So I'm going to try and do something because some people wanted invites. So I'm going to try and invite the person in. So I've invited the person in, and we'll see. We'll try and see what happens when they join in, or if they do join in. Right. Okay. So I think there are people that are already starting to join in. We'll start exactly at 6:30 in terms of starting the discussions for today. And just to set the tone, or set the way forward, is that we are going to allow comments. You can write in your comments in the comments section. And the beauty about it is that if you are writing a comment on the comment section and we are still live, I will be able to answer that immediately, like right now, as opposed to if you happen to watch the video a few hours after I've done this, you might have to wait a little bit longer to receive a response. But yeah, I'm glad some people have already gone through. So we are, sorry, we're almost starting. A little bit cold. So sorry, excuse me. So yeah. Okay, right. We are ready to get going. So today, what are we going to talk about today? So usually what we do, the digital meetings usually come a week after the ward committee has met. And the reason for that is because we want to make sure that we give feedback as to what was discussed at a ward committee meeting. Now, the ward committee is usually about 10 people that do attend those meetings. And those are the people that are elected by the public as well to be part of a ward committee that assists me as a councillor in carrying out and making sure that our ward works. So if everything works, it's not just because of it's me. I've got a team behind me. I've got a very dedicated team, great people that work hard to ensure that the services or the issues that are affecting the area are attended to. So without wasting any time, I'm going to start here because we have discussed quite a number of things. So the first thing that I want to report back on is that we have noticed that in the ward we have a number of bad roads, so that need resurfacing. So one of our committee members, which is Trudy Webb, she will be going around the ward to look at stuff like which roads needs to be resurfaced, and also not only the roads, but like the street signs which are rusted. So she will be also looking at those kind of things. She will be also assisting us in terms of reporting those. So like what she will do is like she will report back at the ward committee meeting, and then what we'll then do is like we'll escalate through to the relevant department for attention. So it's always much better than that, like that. And the reason why we had this approach is because we have realized that two of the streets are Lily Bester as well as Palala Street. I know there's been a bit of work done at Palala Street, but not satisfactory enough. So we obviously decided that those roads would need resurfacing. We will go through not in an IDP format, but we will follow them through the normal channel of reporting, which is obviously through the departments, and they can handle it as a maintenance issue instead of a capital issue. So that's the road signs that we spoke about. And then I just want to also give feedback. Also last week, Thursday, we had a meeting as councillors as well as officials. This usually should be a monthly meeting. Our services delivery meeting fell on the same day as our ward committee meeting. You'll remember that last week we had a great interference in our services. I think the week before it was water, and then the following week we had interference in terms of electricity. So we do have an explanation from the electricity department. I think the water department did give up. We did give updates as and when it was available to us. In terms of the electricity department, is that they had an issue with the cable fault on both ends. So, like in that, most of you remember that the power outage, which was, I think it was a Tuesday or so, it affected a huge area. And yes, I remember I was also affected by that power outage as well. So it affected a huge area. What the department then did was make sure that they fix the one side, and then they get an alternative feeder to make sure that certain areas are on. So while they were still fixing the bigger problem, they made sure that part of the areas were on. I know it was an inconvenience that for some areas they still experienced power outage the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, and to some extent the Thursday. Fortunately, the Friday was not that much, so we were able to do that. That's why you had no power most of the week. For some of you, I do apologize for that. I know it's an inconvenience if there's no power. And as Gary has posted on the group, in fact, in the comments, is the call center number, as well as the call center email address and with the Twitter. So I encourage residents, please do use these numbers when you report issues, because from my side, it becomes almost impossible to assess or to escalate anything without a reference number. I need that not because we want to be funny, but it's because we need to obviously show that we not only show, but we need to also trace the issue and make sure that the department does in fact have the issue. So if I don't have a reference number, it almost has to be logged from the beginning. And like that may take even longer. I understand the frustration when power is out and the inconvenience that it causes, but I ask that we all do that. And then the other thing, if I can ask Gary, yes, I was about to ask Gary if you have the link for the My City of Ekurhuleni app. That's My City of Ekurhuleni app. You can also report issues via the app, and you don't always have to call. And I need to also explain to residents, and I think I managed to find out as to why in certain instances the call center number, I know you complain and say that they don't answer, but especially in the power outage, you can imagine how many calls are going through to the call center. So while they've answered somebody else's call and you are still waiting, you hear obviously the welcome tone, and you're still waiting for an agent to pick up the phone physically or to be transferred, the phone to be transferred to them. There's this silence. I think what I'm looking to do is to suggest that, like any other call center around, the call center have this standard sort of like voice over to say, we are experiencing high call volumes. So if you don't mind, like maybe they give you other options of how you can still log in your query without having to wait on the phone for a long time. So because I know sometimes it might be a problem to wait a little bit longer on the phone. So we understand that. So do you understand, like, yes, the call center, there are issues with it, but like we can always work around it. There's an email address, there's a Twitter address. So if I can ask that, um, we do deal with that. Now, what I'm going to report back on also is there were residents that complained about the stench on Klip River Road. The stench on Klip River Road, there was an explanation around that. So what happened? What had happened was there was a sewer blockage around that area, which the Department of Water and Sanitation in Alberton had to pull out a primer stove. Yes, that's what they had to pull out from the system, and that's what made it take so long to address. You know, like because it wasn't when they tried to obviously clear it under normal circumstances, it was more difficult to clear. So they had to like really look into what really is down there that's really causing the blockage. The department, we did highlight to them to say, look, while we appreciate that what you had to go through to get that sorted, we also need to know, like, if we have a concern around the turnaround time in which sewers, in more specifically sewer, because there's a health hazard that comes with sewer. The turnaround time in addressing issues around with sewer. So I really, those are the things that we've looked at, and they've committed to do follow-ups, regular follow-ups, and I'll also be checking from time to time on a regular basis. We have, I'm sure some of you have seen or have noticed that we have service delivery Wednesdays, not necessarily every month, but we have that every 2 months. So I think through the initiative of Service Delivery Wednesdays, we are able to attend and follow up on issues. And then again, we have when we come. Okay, now, okay, Michelle, I'll give you an answer just now. Let me just first finish with this thought of mine that I have on the what's this on the sewer. So we are approaching a rainy season, and one of the things that we have is as we're approaching this rainy season, most of you know that we experience a lot of sewer problems. I ask again, please let this be reported as Gary has posted on the group in the comments, and let that be the follow-up that we do, and we make sure those things can be sent to me via WhatsApp. The group has my details for WhatsApp, and we will be looking out for that. And the second thing about the sewer is that you'll remember on our IDP, for those who have been here quite long enough, on the integrated development plan, we have as a high priority the refurbishment or replacement of the sanitation or sewer lines in the area. So what that means is that we want council to really address where there's less capacity to handle our sewer lines or the sewer in the area. However, at the same time, the one issue that was raised by the ward committee was that the matrix that they use might be flawed. So it might look like in certain areas there's no problem, but there actually is a problem in a bigger area. So we will be going back and following up on the department, because one of the things that's really puts strain on our infrastructure is the amount of subdivisions that we go through. So in terms of Michelle's question, Michelle, what is being done about electricity overload, being that people who pay are suffering? Okay, Michelle, first of all, I think in the ward, I believe that just about everybody pays for the electricity. And so, like, to be fair, like that's everybody that's affected in the ward. And the second thing is that the electricity department, like in, I think, to be quite fair, when one looks at Brackenhurst and Brackendowns, the electricity outages are not as bad as other areas. So like in, while other areas are suffering more than we are suffering, we have to recognize that in fact before the recent outages, I think you and I can agree that we haven't had power outages in a very long time in the ward, or as severe. I think I read all the time about the power outages in other areas such as Alberton North. So I hear about Alberton North. Those guys are really badly affected, and they are really having a really tough time with the power outages. But council is also, we are asking council, not just council, we taking the issue to national government for them to look into the capacity overall of electricity supply in Ekurhuleni. And once that is done, it's not a matter of just waking up and saying, right, we're gonna do it tomorrow. And I think it's processes. One can appreciate that processes that are being followed. So Adele van Heerden, it says, Malcolm, a year or two ago, the precast wall as border between the Afrikaner was removed to enable the placement of those huge underground wall was still not replaced and poses a security issue. Right. What can be done about this? In fact, the walls along R59 and Klip River, and in fact, mostly around Klip River, have to be replaced by province. And I think that is one of the things that I was going to get to. I have received, I hope the person is on the chat. I've asked them to join the group. They've complained about like the broken down wall along the Afrikaner, but like on the top copy side. So like in that wall has to be done by province. We have put in a request as council to say that we need the official to liaise with province for that wall to be replaced. So we'll keep following up with our council officials, because remember, as a ward councillor, I'm only responsible for local government, meaning that I can liaise and request issues from local government officials. Now, in terms of once it goes to province, if I want to drive it, it has to be done through another fellow political or public representative who sits in the legislature. So that's, but because it's something that we need it speedily, that might be very, very hard to do. Okay. Okay, now there. Okay, Frank, I'm going to be very frank with you. I think what needs to be done, and I need to reiterate this, in terms of every service delivery query, the only time we can discuss a follow-up on matters on this group is when there is an ongoing power outage. So that's number one. Number two, I'm going to ask that you maybe WhatsApp me or SMS me the reference number and the exact address where you reported it from. So like in, right, and then Frank, okay, so Frank, you're saying you have not been able to get a number, tried the call center. So Frank, if you have not been able to get a number, there's a number up at the call center, you can try again. There's different various ways that you can try the call center. As I've explained earlier about reporting issues, is that issues have to be accompanied with a reference number. If they are not, it becomes really, really difficult to follow up, because it has to be almost re-reported. If you have reported before, then it makes it easier if there's a reference number. But if you haven't reported it before, it has to be reported. And it's always best that the person who is closest to the location reports the matter, because that way, when council does call to follow up, you are then able to give them guidance. Right. So like Gary has then just given you the email address and then reference number to me. And again, Frank, if you can just assist us also when you send an email, please include your cell number so that the call center can send you a reference number. Right. Okay. Okay, so Nomvula Bebeza says, can there be people assigned to check every street lights and report them, then get them sorted out? Most of the lights are not working. All right. So Nomvula, I need to ask you, like maybe if you're listening, Nomvula, if it is during the day, obviously that is very easy to do, because then we have urban marshals that should be tasked to go out during the day to see not only for street lights, but for other service delivery matters as well. They need to be able to report on a regular basis what they've been doing. And in fact, us as councillors have always repeatedly asked to say, what have the urban marshals been reporting? And we want to see that their intervention or the success rate that they've been having. But if it's at night, Nomvula, I'm going to ask, like, again, we have contact details as to how you can report through to council via the call center. That's the first port of call. And then, Gary, I think you have, maybe Gary, if I may ask, that you actually post that image as a comment just to assist, because it might be very difficult if like the image is like in a link format. I'm not saying it's not impossible, maybe it just makes it easier. So like there's an image that we made with all the contact details that you can use. We have the walk-in centers, which is the customer relations manager. That's a walk-in office where you can actually report the matter to and then get it sorted. Right. I'm not sure which link is leading this to from Gary, but those are the issues that we have. Right, guys, like I've always been saying about the digital meetings, they are not intended to be very long, because we want to obviously respect your time, number one. Number two, more importantly, we want to respect your data. Let me see. Yeah, we also want to respect your data. So like the video will remain on this platform, and you can watch it at any time, and you can interact with it anytime you wish. So, but for now, I want to thank every single person that made the time to join in the meeting and take part in the meeting. I hope you're happy. The image that there's an image that we have that has my contact details. So if you have other issues that you want to raise outside that, you may also obviously raise. Right. Thank you very much, everybody. Until next time, and until we interact on this platform with more announcements. Have a good evening.